Hello YouTubers, fellow hams. Trying a little bit different angle today. Got my camera kind of crammed in here. Not a lot of room, so it's a fisheye effect, but ooh, look at how big my hands get. I got huge hands. Anyway, I just wanted to give you guys some updates on travel plans and such, and an update on the Slim Jim that I built about 2.5 years ago. Travel plans. Ooh. So when I came up here to Kingman, I think in the last Thoughts on the Road, I was talking about maybe finding a spot to go to up in altitude and get away from the heat in June. And did some research and hunting, and over by Flagstaff, in that area, there's 3 national forests and plenty of Forest Service roads and areas where you can pull off and camp and park. My hosts, Jeannie and Tony, they were wanting to take their horse camping. You know, as I think I mentioned in the Noise Blanker video, they've been training her to be penned up around their camping trailer. So we decided to do a recon run with the car, and we drove a couple hours east towards Flagstaff. We were just this side of Flagstaff. And met some friends that were over there and checked out a couple of spots. And it was pretty neat. It's up around 7,000 feet in altitude, so much cooler than here. We're hitting, we hit 104 Fahrenheit, which is 40 Celsius a couple of days ago. And we're going to have a few more days that are up near there. So it's getting pretty warm here. I've got my air conditioner in, and you know, those days I just sit in here with this little cool air bubble around the desk and couch. And I just wait for the sun to go down. So out here in Kingman, I remember from last year between the storms, we had so many storms that well, it was rough, but it got hot like that, and I had to rotate my sleeping schedule. I would sleep most of the day in here, just lay on the couch with the air conditioner running in my little life support pod, and wait for the sun to go down, and then go out and do my work outside or do whatever I was going to do in the evenings. And I'm starting to shift into that pattern now too, because of these hot days. So anyway, we drove over towards Flagstaff and drove around and checked a few of the spots out, and they looked really nice. Lots of pine trees, really tall pine trees. Lots of birds. I saw a robin, which I haven't seen a robin in 1.5 years, so that was kind of, or almost 2 years, so that was kind of cool. And the spot looked pretty good, but as we were there, storms were forming up. And by the time we got back to Kingman, there was a full-on storm over there near Flagstaff. So the monsoon pattern is starting up out here. So I decided to wait a little bit. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch the storm pattern develop over the next week or two and see what it's like. Because last year, the storms were, when the season got going, the storms were forming up around here and then moving east. And from east of here over through Flagstaff, every single day was massive thunderstorms moving through that area. And those hilly areas, like we checked out, they were having mudslides and all kinds of problems. And in fact, I noticed in the camping areas that we checked out that they were right next to the hills, and there was drainage cuts in the hills where the water drains down when it rains. And so all those areas will just turn into mud pits anyway. I'd probably have to look for a different place if the storm pattern sets up like that again. If it's not raining as much, if the storms are maybe one a week, then I'll probably pack everything up and go over there for a couple of weeks and camp up there in at the high altitude in the trees. I kind of want to put an antenna up at 7,000 feet. I have noticed as I travel around, altitude does make a big difference. I'm at 3,500 feet now, and in some ways that's kind of like having your antenna on top of a 3,500 foot tower if you're down at sea level. It does make a big difference. I noticed the bands are much more active, more signals the higher up I go. So I was really curious to put an HF antenna up at 7,000 feet and see what it's like up there. So that might still happen. It depends on the storms. The other thing that happened is we had our first serious wildfire over that way north of Flagstaff called the Pipeline Fire. It's still burning. I don't know if they're getting any containment on it yet or not, but it's huge. It's north of Flagstaff. I was trying to copy images from the weather satellite because I wanted to see if I could see the smoke. on the weather satellite image. And this brings us around to the Slim Jim, because I could not hear the weather satellites. I hooked everything up. There was a perfect pass, and I barely got any signal from the satellites. So I was like, what is going on? Maybe it's the antenna. So I put my VNA on the Slim Jim, and this is the sweep that I saw. Uh-oh, that to me looks like an open end on the coax. So I had to go out and take the antenna down and figure out what happened to it. Now, I built this 2.5 years ago. I made it on PVC so I could snap it up onto the side of the RV with broom holders for a real quick setup. I mean, I pull in and I park somewhere, and within a minute or two, I'm on the air on 2 meters with the Slim Jim. So it's real convenient. But, when I built it, I had some comments on the video from people saying, oh, that's stupid putting it on PVC. That sun out there in Arizona is going to make that stuff brittle and fall apart in less than a year. So I thought, well, you know, I'll leave it up. It wasn't really built to last. It was just thrown together for the video. But I thought this will be a good endurance test. I'll leave it up. And it's been up for 2.5 years in the strong Arizona sun, in windstorms with gusts in excess of 60 miles an hour, in monsoon storms. I mean, it's really been beat up, and it's held up until now. So after 2.5 years, let's look at the damage. So after the Slim Jim looked really bad on the sweep, I pulled it down to take a closer look at it and see what's going on. Get this coax out of the way. Now, this has been up in the Arizona sun and windstorms and monsoon rainstorms and all kinds of just nasty weather, and it's held up extremely well. The PVC is still flexible. It didn't get brittle. I mean, this PVC has been up in the Arizona sun for almost 3 years, and it's still pliable. So it's holding up pretty well. However, this was completely covered in silicone rubber, and the braid is still shiny, so the silicone rubber worked and kept the moisture out. But the braid is barely holding on, and the center conductor had popped off. And the problem is, see that? For strain relief, I had just wrapped this with black vinyl tape. Remember, this antenna, when I built it, this was just throwing it together to test it out. It wasn't really built the way I'd build it for a permanent installation, you know? And I decided to just keep using it and see how long it lasted. And it lasted almost 3 years. And the failure is this black tape that I used for strain relief, because as you can see, the coax is just sliding around in there, and the weight of the coax, and I've got the excess coiled up here sort of as a weak choke, pulling down on it, just eventually pulled enough to where the braid separated, and once the braid separated, all the tension was on the center conductor point, and that eventually just broke loose from the little bit of motion that occurs as the wind flexes this a little bit like that, you know, and this constant pull from gravity. So that's what failed. So easy enough to fix. I'm going to cut the coax back a little ways, get this tape off of here, and I'm going to drill a hole at a slight angle into the PVC from this side and a hole on the other side, and I'm going to run the coax through that hole, and then it'll come at this angle, and then I'll wrap it up, and that physical pass through the pipe will be a more proper strain relief, and that'll take the strain off so it won't happen in the future. And then of course I'll seal this all up with silicone rubber again, and I'll probably put a layer of tape over that as well after the silicone hardens, just to really seal it up even more. So that is the plan. We'll get the soldering iron out, cut the coax, drill the holes, and put it all back together. Okay, patching is done. Now you can see what I did here. See how the coax goes in? It's at a slight angle, comes out at a slight angle. That's going to provide all the strain relief I need. This is not going to have any more pull on it over here. Now I just need to seal this all up with silicone rubber real good. I'll let the silicone rubber set up. Ugh, yuck. Smelly silicone. Well, as you can see, it's all sealed up. So no moisture get down into the braid. Now I just have to let that set up, and then I'll wrap a layer of tape over it. Okay, it's about an hour later. And as you can see, she's all sealed up now. I did leave... Turn the scanner off. My ICOM 705 is a great scanner. I did leave a gap right here, and this is an air gap, and that's so that any moisture that does weep down into that area can evaporate or leak out. And the silicone will, of course, keep the coax and connection points completely sealed up under there, but this is just all additional protection. So, time to go put it back up and see how it does. So, it's back up. The PVC is still pliable. It hasn't gotten brittle. I'm really curious to see how long it is going to last. It might outlast the RV. I don't know if I'm going to get another year out of this RV before I'm going to have to do something. But yeah, it's back up. It's working great. I copied a weather satellite right away with it. And in this clip that you're looking at here, I'm actually receiving the satellite almost full quieting, and it's only 2 degrees above the horizon. That's how good this antenna works out here where I've got this big sky and almost horizon to horizon views. So I did copy the NOAA 18 weather satellite as it went directly overhead. And in the resulting image, sure enough, there it is. You can see the smoke plume from that wildfire over there north of Flagstaff. It's quite visible on the weather satellite. It's a big fire. So yeah, the fire season is starting up too. So that's another thing I've got to think about. Here where I'm at, we're fairly safe. There's grassland around us, but the yard is, the plants are all cut down in the yard. It's just dirt. It's a big fire break around the house and property. So we probably would be okay here if a grass fire burned through. But over there, it's all trees, big tall pine trees and hills covered with them. So unless it really starts raining a lot, it's a tinderbox out there. So that's another thing I have to consider. So that's what's going on with that. And the Slim Jim is back up, and we'll see how much longer it lasts. So far, you know, the PVC is holding up out here in the sun. So it's going to last more than a year. It has lasted more than a year. So that answers that question. Oh, yeah, other than that, what else is going on? Well, not a whole lot. The desert heat is here. The summer is here. The monsoon storm season is starting. I will, if the storms do start developing, which we'll find out this weekend, I think is our first predicted storm, there'll be some posts with media from the storms, photography, video, maybe some sound. The thunder out here sounds real interesting, and now that I've got the binaural head, if we get a good storm moving past without a lot of wind, I might try to do some recording and capture some of that too. So there's a silver lining, you know, as they say, to every cloud there's a silver lining. And these incredible storms, as scary as they are and potentially dangerous as they are for me being in an RV, they still provide me with the opportunity to photograph things like I just wouldn't have elsewhere. I mean, look at this picture from the storm last year, the big one that flooded the area that I did the monsoon video on. I mean, that's a heck of a photo. So I get opportunities like that. That gets me a little excited. So it's a mix of excitement and dread as the monsoon season comes. So I'm still planning on traveling back east the first week of August to visit my family and friends. But this RV gets about 5 miles to the gallon. So with fuel prices close to $5 a gallon, that means $1 a mile. And a round trip on the most direct route there and back is about 4,000 miles. So that's easy math. $4,000 to travel back there and back out here in the RV. I'm going to take the train. I'm going to ride the Amtrak. I haven't ridden an Amtrak in decades. And so that's what I'm going to do. Probably somewhere in the first week of August, I'm going to be taking a train trip back east to visit my family and friends. Now, I will do video on the train. I'll document the travel. I might try to squeeze a radio into my kit or my pack for the trip. I might not. I don't know. It's going to be a real busy trip. I mean, there's a lot of people I got to visit. A lot of people in Fort Wayne, friends and coworkers, and I've probably got 20, 25, 30 people that I want to visit with while I'm in Fort Wayne. I got to go over to Ohio to see my son. I haven't seen him in 3.5 years, going on 4 years. And then I got to travel across to my hometown in Michigan to visit my sister and mother and nieces and nephews. And then I'll pick up the train there in Michigan and ride back out here. So it's going to be a really, really busy trip. I don't think I'll have the opportunity to really do any video content or play radio while I'm there, because it's just going to be, every day is going to be going to visit this person, going to visit that person, you know, having dinner with this person, and it's just going to be a whirlwind. So I might try to prepare something ahead of time so I've got something to release during that 2-week period before I get back out here. And it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks on that trip. So yeah, there might not be but one video in the middle of August, maybe 2 if I can get something set up ahead of time and pre-uploaded. So I will try to do that so that there's something to release then. But yeah, August, I will be busy traveling. So that's that. But I should be able to get back out here, and it'll be about the beginning of September. So if the monsoon storms haven't destroyed the RV, and if kangaroo rats haven't chewed up all the wires in the engine compartment, then I should be able to get things set up and ready to travel back south to my quiet spot in September when they open the areas up. And I think at that point I'll be ready to go to my quiet spot for a little while, because it's going to be just a busy, busy, busy month in August. What else is going on? Well, we've had quite a few entries for the CW Flea transmitter giveaways, so I'm going to do that this week. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to get the random number generator out and film the giveaway drawings. So that video will follow this one closely, probably by the weekend. It'll just be a short one. It'll just be the drawings and the announcement of the winners. And I'll get the 3D printer out, print up some cases for them, and get some boxes from the post office, and we'll get the 2 transmitters shipped out to the lucky recipients, whoever they may be. One of my Patreon guys, and one of you viewers here. So, and I think I had over 40, 45, something like that, entries. So yeah, some interest there. That's cool, and I look forward to seeing what people do with the transmitters and what the project leads to down the road. So that's coming up. If you entered for the CW Flea, soon after this video you'll see another one with the drawing and the giveaway. So good luck if you're in there, and we'll get those sent out. So that's coming up. Anything else going on? Nothing really of note. So I'm sure I've talked long enough. I think we'll go ahead and end it here, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're not already a subscriber, click to subscribe. Join us on the Facebook channel for discussion about the videos. And if you'd like to help support this channel, please click to support me on my Patreon page.